right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. This is episode 56. My name is Christian Brindle. I'm your host. I'm joined with my co-host yet again, Glen Shelton. Good morning, sir. How are you this morning on a Monday, on President's Day?
I was going to say happy President's Day to you, sir, which is frustrating because there was some bank-related stuff I wanted to do today, personal bank stuff, and I checked and I'm like, of course. I'm like, there is no dealing with the bank today, a bank holiday.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, we have our certain holidays with Everything Senior Insurance, formerly known as Christian Brindle Insurance Services, that we take off. But like President's Day isn't one of them, right? There's a couple of others that isn't one of them. So like there's a lot of carriers that are closed today. Like it's just kind of a pain in the ass. Can I say that? Can I say President's Day is a pain in the ass?
Let me ask you this. Is there too many federal holidays in the United States? Oh,
100%. You don't think so?
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, it's hard. I don't know what to say as far as like what's the right number, but there are days like today where it's like I wanted to get stuff done that I genuinely can't do. And it just seems obnoxious. I know there's probably some people out there that are like, don't take away my holidays. It's like, okay, listen, keep your holidays.
Now, the trickiest part of it is figuring out which ones would have to go if we were in charge of the slashing, if you will, of said federal holidays.
Christmas, Thanksgiving,
Halloween.
Halloween
Everybody.
Halloween's not a federal holiday.
But
okay, I have a story though. Yes, I have a story. Guys, I wanted to text Christian this story, but I felt like it was too good not to wait till Monday to share live here on the pod, get his reaction. And I know my family thought it was very authentically funny in the moment. So this weekend I'm in Portland. We go to a sushi restaurant, me and my family. We're I wouldn't say we're like connoisseurs or we're sushi into. We like to eat sushi as a family. Do you like to eat sushi, right?
I love sushi. Love it. I would I call myself an enthusiast as well.
Enthusiast. Okay, we're enthusiasts. Does your daughter eat sushi, by the way?
She doesn't like it.
My daughter eats more sushi than I do. It's crazy. So
really,
the whole family, we all love sushi. Go to a sushi restaurant in Portland. It's not like a swanky, which again, there's like this huge scale of like, there's like gas station sushi all the way up to, you know, I'm going to have to take a mortgage out on my house to pay this bill sushi, right? And I've kind of been to all of them. There was a sushi restaurant in Vegas I went to. It was unbelievably expensive. And then I've had some really cheap sushi. So this was like average. I wouldn't say this was like a crazy nice place by any means. So we're sitting down, looking at the menu, trying to decide what to order. Waitress comes over and I'm going through. I'm like, okay, we're going to get this. And then, one of the bigger items we order is nigiri, salmon nigiri. That's like one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. And I'm like 16 pieces of salmon nigiri. And the waitress looks at me and she goes, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, yes, 16 pieces of salmon. And she's like, that's $3 per piece. Like, that's a lot of money. And I'm looking at her and I'm just like, what is going on right now? And then before I can respond, she grabs the menu and points to the price to show me like it's $3 per piece of sushi. Are you sure? I was floored. I was like, yes, I want the sushi. Like, I am here for the sushi.
You made the sale. Stop selling.
Yeah. I'm just like, I've never been to a restaurant in my life where someone like
trying to talk you out of it.
Yeah, you're trying to talk me out of buying food. Like, do you not want a tip? Like, what is going on here? I was so floored. I'm like, do I just look like a homeless person in Portland? That was what I ultimately came to. I'm like, is she looking at me like some homeless guy got in here off the street? Is my beard too long? What's going on? I don't know. It was an experience though, for sure.
That's hilarious. I think it's always hysterical when I'll go somewhere and they misread me.
Yeah.
right? Like that. They'll misread
Yeah.
in terms of like
Yeah.
who I am. Not that I'm anybody special or anybody important. I'm really not in the scheme of things. But like, you know, I've gone to restaurants before where they're like, this is a, you know, $100 a plate restaurant. Are you sure you're supposed to be here? Like,
So you've gotten
somewhere
similar
else?
treatment before.
In the past, over the years,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
dress up on regular occasion. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
wear what I want to wear. Usually it's blue
Okay,
jeans.
Zuckerberg. Okay, Zuckerberg.
And so it's happened to me before at certain restaurants and things like that. Never for what's the math on that? Like $40-something for the sushi?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I did the math after it was like $40 a head, which is very average, I feel like, for
yeah,
sushi, you
I would
know?
think so. For
Yeah.
like decent sushi, that's pretty common. So that's
Yeah.
interesting, you know, that was what triggered it. But
You know, like I'm like this. I don't know. I have 50. Hopefully my card. And then I really wanted to have like a dead card. I wanted my card to bounce. I wanted to like play it because I'm a psycho. I wish I had like an expired card. And then she's like, "Sir, your card didn't work." I'm like, "Oh."
and then she goes in the back. She goes in the back. She's like, "I knew it. I knew it. The second they walked in, I knew it."
Can I do dishes? I'll do $200 worth of dishes. I promise. Oh my gosh.
Valentine's Day. What did you and the missus do for Valentine's Day? Did you do something on the day or was it over the weekend?
Well, that technically this family sushi dinner was kind of our quote unquote Valentine's. We did do a couple's massage as well at one point.
Oh,
so
we know something about that.
But yeah, pretty low key, I would say overall. I ended up playing basketball, Dad, most of this weekend. My son had another tournament here in town. But what about you and the missus? I know you got to go to the Led Zeppelin movie finally, so
Yes.
that had to be amazing, I'm assuming.
So I enjoyed every second of it. It was true documentary style, though. It wasn't a biopic. Like it was an actual like documentary in the movie theater. You know, like behind the music type style documentary. And I was like geeking out about it, you know, like they show like the first Zeppelin concert when they're the Yardbirds before they changed their name to Led Zeppelin, right? They're like 20 years old and they're just blowing people's minds. You know, people don't know what to think in the crowd. And I'm like, this is so awesome. And she fell asleep. I count 3 times. And I'd lean over and she'd be like, and I'd be like, hey, you're missing the best part. You're missing the best. I'm like, hey,
wake up.
I'm like, you're missing a whole lot of love. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm not so sure that she did. We went to an Indian restaurant prior to the movie, which we don't usually eat at. We'll eat, you know, Thai food, Chinese food. Like we'll try a lot of different types of food, but not usually Indian. A little weird. It was all right. It was good. It's a little strange.
Yeah, I've had Indian maybe once. I don't know. Some people I know love it. Not my favorite by any means. We're going to be eating food together here soon, by the way, sir.
We are, but yeah.
Yes.
We are, as of today, a week away from day 1 of the 7-Figure Playbook event in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's crazy.
This Saturday, we will be together. Have you thought about that? Have you mentally prepared yourself for that?
I haven't.
Not at all.
I need a federal holiday today to prepare for. If I have to be with you on the weekend, I deserve today off, you guys. I think I want to talk to my boss. I want today off.
A formal complaint.
Dr. Oz, I want today off, okay? This is too much.
Oh. So before we get into our main topic, I wanted to kind of start with this morning. And I thought it would be interesting conversation for the pod this morning. And that is, I put a post up in the group probably a couple of weeks ago. And even at the time of me putting it up, it caused a little bit of stir and controversy. And then this following weekend, somebody, I guess, saw it late and proceeded to, appeal to me that and to see the error in my ways, and get me to see a different perspective, which I did not. But the post was about one thing I noticed, and I'm sure many of you have, if you are watching this and you're in any of the online Medicare agent Facebook group communities. Now, our private Facebook group, Figure Medicare Agent, which this show is live streamed in each morning, although there's a billion platforms that it ends up going on, but that's one of them. And, it currently, as of today, it is closing in on 10,000 members, right? Very strong community group of people. It started a little bit over 5 years ago. Can you believe that?
That's crazy. Are you willing to get a QR code tattooed on you if it hits 10,000 members? Will you commit to that? Right?
Would it actually work?
You want to join my group? Just lift up your
Both arms are occupied at the moment. Otherwise, I would consider it.
You get flabby and it's not scanning. They're like, it's not working.
My God, gotta tighten things.
Hang on.
But currently, as of today, it's the second biggest Medicare agent community on the internet. Not a small thing by any means, but it's also been around a long time. Many of you have probably noticed that there are a bazillion Medicare agent Facebook groups now. Most of them just really bad. And that was kind of my point, right? Like, there are ones that are anywhere from 100 to 500 people in them. Some that even have as many as 1,000 to 3,000 people in them. But outside of maybe 3 of them, Figure Medicare Agent being one of those 3, none of them have anything really to bring to the table. And I've been in a lot of them. I've started to remove myself from them because I'm like, why am I in here? What's the purpose in me being in 60 Medicare agent Facebook groups? What's the value? Most of them have no posts. We're talking about a post maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Some of them go months without posts. And when there are posts, there's no engagement or very little on the posts, right? Like, it's almost like you're in this group that's just dead. I call them dead weight Facebook groups. And most of them are that. And so the debate became
brutal.
The debate became, my argument was you should be in the big 3 and leave all the rest of them because there's no value. It just serves no purpose, right? Like, you don't need to be in 60 Facebook groups when everything that you need to see happens in 3. That was my argument. And I got a lot of pushback from people, mostly people that run other groups that no one cares about. Some of those names, I'm like, I haven't seen that name in 6 years. I didn't know you were alive still. I thought you died with your group. But starting a Monday.
Mondays are where Christian comes out and just kills somebody, metaphorically speaking.
And I don't say that to say, that these people aren't good people or anything like that. But I think when you have a Facebook group that dies, there's no coming back from that almost.
There is something to be said about you can only have so much information in your feed. So the more groups you're in, this is also applicable to people you follow, people you're friends with, pages you follow. There's only so much information you're going to be able to consume in your feed on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So the more that you're in, the less you might see of the actual important information. So I think there's a ton of validity to this, because again, a lot of these other groups, it's, and even about like size is almost irrelevant to me personally.
Sure.
Because there's some really big groups where there's just no value, or the engagement sucks, etc. So size is like maybe one factor to consider, but I think like, what's the value of being in the group? What's the engagement like? Can you post a question and get like valid answers quickly? Stuff like that. That's, super helpful, right? So I think there's a lot to be said, and there is something frustrating about everyone trying to have their own group. Not that we're trying to, again, not that we're trying to gatekeep it, not that we're trying to say like, hey, you can't go start a group. To me, this is more about like, how much information do you want to try to consume in your feed on a day-to-day basis?
It's also like that. I've been a big believer for a long time because I was this person early on in my youth. But
my youth,
did I lose you?
You're 40 years old.
Yeah.
My youth.
In my early 20s though, right? When I was like hungry looking for information, and I'm still always trying to consume information. I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to level up and things like that. But I made the mistake that a lot of people make, that feeling like you can listen to everyone and get something from it, which I do think there's some truth to that, but like, it's in some cases there can be too many cooks in the kitchen in terms of who's advising you. I've had this with agents that work with us. Like I will give 100%. I would give them an exact step-by-step plan of what I feel like they should be doing, and they won't do any of it because they're listening to 8 other people, and all of the 8 different people's information contradicts each other, and you end up doing nothing because you don't know what to do. You're like, well, if I do this, I'm not doing what this guy said, but I am doing what this guy said, but I'm not doing what these other 2 guys said. And it's like, there is more than one way to, get the job done. There's more than one way to grow your business. And at the end of the day, a thing that a lot of agents should just do is pick a lane, listen to someone, and just go in and work.
I've seen this firsthand since we've been working together, especially with the insurance carriers, where God bless them, but some of these bigger insurance carriers, I won't say any names, you'll get someone on the phone and you're playing roulette essentially every time. It could be a relatively simple question, so we'll have an agent, we're internally discussing this. Christian gives them the answer. They decide they want to double check. They call the carrier. Yeah. Carrier gives them a slightly different answer. Now the agent's confused. Then the agent calls you carrier again. Gets another different answer.
A third answer. Yeah.
Yeah, a third. I've seen it happen, guys. I've seen it happen. All of a sudden, so now and then my whole point on this is like, think how much wasted time there is now.
Yeah.
If this was like a client related issue, you didn't get back to the client right away. Now it's been 24, 48 hours or longer. You're just creating more confusion when Christian, who's been in the industry now for such a long time, was trying to point you in the right direction to begin with, but you decided I wanted, 10 data points to make a decision on this. And it was something super simple to begin with. That's the sort of stuff that drives me crazy when I see that stuff.
And we've seen it with agents, to where it would eat up an entire day for them trying to find this answer that they already got the answer to yesterday. And then they do all of that just to circle back around and find out that the first answer was the right one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just stupid. And it's I'm sorry.
Today. Mondays are not Christian's day, you guys.
Not a Monday person.
I'm gonna get you a coffee. I'm not a Monday guy.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, first off, there's a saturation of Facebook groups right now. I really do believe that. But I think the magic happens when you have a big group that has great engagement. You have those 2 things together, and it's just like, wow, there's nothing quite like this. And these smaller groups, one, they just can't replicate it because these other groups have have longevity already on their side. There's history in them. There's members that know the history for many years. Seven Figure Medicare Agent, like we said, is going on 5+ years of existence. We started it in January of 2020, right before COVID. What a year that was for the Facebook group communities. But like, also, what does it tell me when I see somebody that's running a group that just has no posts, no engagement? There's just nothing going on. It's like a barren wasteland, when you go into it. It tells me that the person running it does not care about the group enough to bring engaging, interesting conversation to the community, to keep it going consistently. They aren't interested in doing the work. And let's be real, running a successful group is a lot of work. It doesn't happen by accident.
No.
It doesn't become good by accident. I'll never forget when in the first year, basically, that I created Seven Figure Medicare Agent. Back then it was Six Figure Medicare Agent. I would be up late at night responding to comments in the group. My wife has steam coming out of her ears, sitting next to me, pissed off. Would be watching something. She'd be like, "Put down your phone." I'm like, I have to respond or else the group will die. Like, I knew it back then. Now I don't need to respond to everything because, the community is so vast and so powerful, right? Like, there's other leadership, there's veterans in there, there's group experts. Like, questions will get answered. I try to chime in when I have time, when I can, if there's something that I feel like I can add something to. But like, the group is now bigger than me. But if I didn't do what I did in the first couple of years, and if I wasn't still consistently bringing things to the table for the group, it would die, and it would have died. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of just share some perspective on that because I was a little bit surprised in the pushback I got from it. 90% of the feedback, by the way, was like, yeah, agreed. Like, fuck those groups, but no, if you guys want my advice, you don't need to be in 60 Facebook groups. It's silly. Like,
be selective for sure.
Be in the big 3. Maybe jump into some of the ACA ones if you're doing ACA, right? Like, get in some of the life ones if you're doing life, that kind of thing. But like, be in the big 3 and just forget all the rest of them. You don't need them. Everything you need to know will be discussed in the big 3, and it will be valuable content. Like, you'll get everything that you need. And I really do believe that. I just feel like you're almost doing yourself a disservice because you're trying to keep up with so many things. It's just ridiculous.
Too much information. Guys, I want to make sure we have enough time to get to this main topic today. It's a big one. We kind of touched on it on Thursday's episode, and we can get into more of how those correlate here in just a moment. But before we get there, I'd like to take a moment and talk about today's sponsor, Lead Heroes. Your favorite senior insurance lead provider is the sponsor of today's episode. Right now at Lead Heroes, you can get 50% off exclusive Medicare supplement leads. These are call verified, double opt-in, geo-targeted based on exactly where you're looking to try to generate more Medicare supplement business. This can be county specific, state specific, multi-state. We can really dial this in based on your needs and desires. Do not wait. These will go back up to $40 per lead at the end of this month. So you have until February 28th at midnight to get a $20 exclusive Medicare supplement lead. That, in my opinion, is one of the best Medicare supplement leads you can get your hands on. We do not want to have the funeral for Medicare supplement insurance. This is a way that we can all collectively hold hands together and hold the line. Keep Medicare supplement insurance alive.
Hold the line. Love isn't always on. Sorry, continue.
Head over to Lead Heroes. You heard it right here. Head over to leadheroes.com. LEADHEROES.com. Save Medicare supplement insurance today with a $20 exclusive Medicare supplement lead. Oh, chef's kiss. I can't wait. I can't wait to get to the end of this month and tell you guys that we saved Medicare supplement insurance.
I can't wait.
That we brought it back. We brought it back.
We will not have to do the funeral.
The funeral can be postponed.
Postponed.
It's like this is like a when they do what's the they do like the telethons like
Yes.
donate now and we can find a cure for Medicare supplement insurance.
Cure.
We can keep Medicare supplement insurance alive.
Yeah.
Call
Yeah.
844-743-7637. That's Lead Heroes. That's our number.
Call
Call us.
555. That's not enough numbers. No, guys, definitely take advantage of that. We want to make sure that, you guys have plenty of opportunities to be selling Medicare supplement. And so, these Medicare supplement leads, it doesn't get much better than that. $20 exclusive, real-time generated. Check those out. All right. Let's shift gears into the main topic today. Like you said, kind of building off of Thursday's episode, kind of taking it maybe even a step further. And that is how to have a super high retention rate with your book of business and avoid chargebacks. Very, very important. I told this story recently on the show, but, I spoke with an agent recently that, was a year into the business, give or take, and had done really well. Had done like 250, 300 apps first year, which is great for a first year. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But his retention rate was, I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. I think he said it was like he was keeping 60 or maybe 70% of his clients, which for Medicare is really, really poor. Like,
yeah, that's really bad.
The average retention rate, I've always said, is somewhere between 85 to 90%.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you that you could keep 95% or more. We historically have kept 95%. This past year, going from 2024 into 2025, we did an audit like we always do, and we kept 97.5% of our clients.
Crazy high.
And so what we're doing seems to be working and has for many years. And of course, by having good retention, you are avoiding chargebacks. The things go hand in hand. So, Glenn, when we talk about retention, what comes to mind typically? Like when you think about someone that does a good job at retaining clients, what is that individual doing?
There was a few different things that came to mind right away when I was thinking about this topic. So one is cross-selling, and that's what we were talking about on Thursday. This is something that's been statistically proven to increase your retention. If you have more than one policy in the household, whether that's a husband, wife, or multiple different types of policy with one person, life health, life cancer, right? Medicare cancer, etc. Some type of combination of policies that will statistically increase your retention rate. So that's one thing. Another thing that came up a lot on the life side was policy delivery. I know some agents who would always deliver the policy in hand, not saying that you should do that or you need to do that, but that was something that was important, is some type of touch point around the start of the policy or that policy getting initiated with that client. So I think that there's an interesting conversation that could be had there. And then the other piece of it is really the number of touch points. So how often are you communicating with your clients? Are you a fly-by-night salesperson where you're going to write that policy and then disappear, which a lot of you are that person. And I don't know why. Maybe we can get to the bottom of that as well. But there's a lot of you that will literally maybe give a business card and that's like your follow-up, or you're mailing the policy and then you have a business card and they're like, call me if you need anything. And then you never talk to them ever again. And that's how you lose somebody very easily. So a few different things top of mind for me with this topic.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of share historically what's helped us. For us, what has helped us so much over the years is, I believe, the big three. And I don't mean Allen, Garnett, and Pierce. The original big three. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. For those of you watching it at home. No, I think there's a big three. And I think the big three is touch points. Glenn touched on that a little bit. Phenomenal service. and doing what you say you're going to do, keeping your word. I think if there was a 3A, 3B, or a 4 or anything like that, I think it would be cross-selling for sure. Because we sell a lot of ancillary policies internally. We do a lot of hospital indemnity policies, a lot of dental policies. The more policies you have in the house, for sure. I told the story last Thursday about the person that I think that was the episode I talked about this.
Yeah.
Talked to the bank teller.
Yeah.
She was talking about her PNC agent and how much she hated him. She used the word hate. I hate him. And I'm like, good God. I'm like, just thinking about myself. I'm like, I hope my clients don't hate me.
I hate Christian. I hate him.
But she had like 4 or 5 policies with the guy, and she was talking about what a nightmare it was to change. I did not bring this up, by the way. She's looking at our business account. Clearly, it says insurance in the name.
Right.
So she's just like, what type of insurance? She's talking to me. I'm trying to get out of the bank.
Yeah.
I'm not even engaging that much in this conversation, but I found it very interesting. So more policies in the house, 100% is a tried and true thing.
For sure.
But if I'm going to dissect those other 3, so touch points, number one, why is touch points important? Well, to me, maybe we go through these one by one, Glenn. So
yeah, let's do it.
Let's dive a little deep into touch points. So for me, why touch points are important is because it's incredibly easy in our current modern day age for people to forget who you are.
Yes.
And not only forget who you are, maybe remember who you are, but not remember why you're valuable. Or remember why they wanted to buy from you in the first place. They forget that feeling they had when they signed the policy, that they had trust in you, faith in you, belief in you. It's like, you turn into, and I've heard this a lot from clients, the guy that came to my house one time. I've heard that a lot from clients. Anytime I hear that, I know they have a absolute, I have a kill shot waiting to go out to that agent.
Right.
I'm taking that client 100% of the time.
Right.
If they refer to you and they think of you as the guy that came to my house one time, when I know I'm going to have a more difficult time, or maybe I'm not even going to try, is when the client says, yeah, my agent is little Billy down the street, and he does such a good job for me, little Billy. And they just go into detail. I'm like, oh, is that uphill battle for me? Seems like little Billy's on the ball.
Little Billy.
So those touch points, right? That subconscious familiarity in who you are, reminding who you are, reminding them that you're there for them, reminding them of that they can call you for help. And touch points comes in a lot of different ways, and we'll talk. We'll dive into that a little bit too. But Glenn, talk a little bit about touch points. What did I miss there?
With hundreds of insurance agents and agency owners at the event, this could not be a better opportunity to spotlight your business. If you're looking for a sponsorship opportunity and where to spend your sponsorship dollars this year, the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the spot to do it. You can have your own booth. You can network with agents. This is the 4th annual summit, so there's going to be a lot of agents there and a lot of agents who are looking for help from vendors for leads, educational vendors. You could have a software tool. There's so many great vendors that we've had in the past, and we're looking at a lot of great opportunities for businesses to sponsor at the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. So if you are looking for a sponsorship opportunity, make sure to check out 7figuresmedicareagentsummit.com.
Get your tickets today while they're still available, and reach out about sponsorship opportunities. We'd love to have you involved with the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit in 2025. Now back to the show.
I think you hit it on the nose when you said it's easy to forget who you are. Where you could be a great agent, you could write the perfect policy, But if you're not staying in front of them, you're not top of mind. And and not to mention, these are seniors, right? Generally, someone who's more likely to be forgetful, right? So even if you're a great agent, great transaction, great policy, they're happy. But if they haven't heard your name or heard from you, haven't gotten a phone call, haven't gotten a piece of mail, haven't gotten an email, no communication from you in months, do you think it's likely that they're going to remember your company or who you are versus some Joe Schmo agent who's sending new marketing out, where they see a direct mail piece, where they see an ad online? It's just really basic in that sense, you know. And there's not like a magic, you know. We had Luke Cree. Is that how you pronounce his last name? We had Luca Cree speak at the last summit, which phenomenal speaker. I think it's on the YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out. Is that upload? Not yet. Just kidding. Soon, maybe, or you could buy it. You can go to the summit
right
website.
Now you can see it
right
if you want to buy it.
But eventually, it'll probably be on there. Or maybe you were at the summit and you already know the talk I'm talking about. This was like the big, with his presentation. The big question was, how many touch points do I need for my clients? And the reveal was, spoiler alert, more. That was the answer. It wasn't a number. Again, most of us are always like looking for a number. It's once a week, once a month, once a quarter, you know, twice a day. Everyone's like thinking, is there a number? Like, well, what's the number of times I need to touch my client? The more, the better. Unless you're like blatantly spamming your client with nonsense, the more, the better.
So, and I think when people hear this, they kind of get the misconception that like we're talking about calling the client physically all the time. Like, and that's probably not super realistic, right? You're busy. You probably don't have time to call all your clients all the time, especially like, let's say you build up to 1,000 clients, right? Like,
yes,
it's impossible. But it doesn't have to necessarily be a phone call. So we call our clients in 2 scenarios every year internally. If they call us, we're calling them back. Or 2, we're calling them at the beginning of AEP if they have an Advantage plan to go over changes, or if they have a PDP plan that's just absolutely going to hell. Those are usually the 2 scenarios. And we have our team helps with that. It's a team effort. But at the beginning of the agency being built, before there was anyone else, when it was really me, I was doing that myself. I was making a commitment to doing that. And I did. And so every year we've been in business, that's been kind of a core principle. I think calling at the right time is a big thing, right? Like if I call you in April, there's probably not going to be a lot for us to talk about, unless you're calling me with a problem and I'm calling you back, right? But there's no changes to discuss unless you have a Medicare supplement and it's going up in price. But like if you have a PDP, if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, there's not a lot that's going to be changed at that point in time. But over the course of the year, touch points is not always just you picking up the phone and calling, although I do believe strategic calling is important. The timing wise, that when you're calling matters more than how much you're calling. But other ways you can have touch points is ways that can be completely automated, right? Sending things in the mail, sending emails, sending text messages, right? Like you don't have to physically kill yourself necessarily to
100%,
get your touch points to a point where they need to be, And so like, I'll give you some examples. So like some mailers that we send out birthday letters every year. They're completely automated. Nobody touches them. We use our friends over at.
I know. Yeah. I get these.
Yeah,
I'm a client. I'm a client. Adios.
Thanks to our friends over at thanks.io, plug for them. That's who we actually use internally for that. We send out thank you cards when people buy a new policy or they change their policy or they're a new client or anything like that. Completely automated. We send out pre-AEP letters. We send out a couple letters over the course of AEP. We'll send out communications on updates they need to be aware of, right? Like we just dropped a letter about the rebrand as an example.
Well, the rebrand, I was going to mention that, but also the I guess you could say it was almost like a cross-marketing piece, that the dental email we just sent out, right? Talking about dental insurance.
Yep.
You know, it's informative.
All year
email
round.
To everybody, access to the content. I mean, that's how you win. That's how you get to 97% for sure retention rate. If you're just touching someone once, if you're just selling that policy and then you're dipping, you're going to lose 20% of your clients. That's how you lose 20% for sure.
Yeah. And so like that ongoing communication, right? Is really big. So that to me, touch points really, really big. Number 2, I believe, was phenomenal service. So when someone calls you, how are you taking care of them? And does it have a personal feel to it? Like what does that whole consumer experience look like? For us, again, at the beginning, I was returning every call and I was on the ball. My first, I think, how many years? 4 years as an agent, I think it was. I had a 24-hour return call guarantee. It was horrible, awful. It was the worst thing I ever did to myself, because like someone could call me like Saturday, right, at like 5:00 p.m. or something. So I'd have till Sunday 5:00 p.m. to call them back. Like, and I would do it.
Wow, look at you!
Not saying
you're
you have
such a good little agent. Look at you.
And we don't do that anymore, right? Now it's like, during business hours, that kind of thing. But like, this is the thing people always ask about. How do I handle that? How do I handle this? How do I handle that? There is no really smart, sophisticated answer I can give you, other than either you have to do it or you have to hire help to do it. And bring on help to assist you in doing it. Someone has to return the calls. Someone has to take the calls and answer the calls. There is no other way around it, because anything you try to do to like outsource or automate or anything like that, if you try to do that portion of it, people are going to see through it. And when we've tried to do it with our own clients, they throw a fit. That personal feel is really, really big for us. And, you could hire a virtual assistant to do that. Like a virtual 100%. Assistant answering the phone is better than no one answering the phone.
For sure.
Or
like if you're trying to return a call and it takes you, 24 hours is a little crazy, especially on the weekends. I don't think you have to go that far. But if it's taking you
not endorsing that, by the way.
But if it's taking you 3 or 4 or 5 days to get back to someone, you're probably 10 times better off to have a virtual assistant who could return that call in 15 minutes than you taking a week to get back to someone, right? There's kind of levels to this. And before we go any deeper, I want to take a second and mention, someone commented already, shout out to Mr. Joe Campert. Freebie Fridays happening every single Friday. We just did 100 Medicare supplement leads giveaway last Friday. That is $4,000 worth of Lead Heroes leads that we raffled off. We'll be doing another big giveaway this coming Friday. You don't want to miss out. Comment below on the live stream today or any of the live streams that will be coming this week, so you can be entered into Freebie Friday this coming Friday. And it's really simple. All you have to do is comment. 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. We'll be streaming live every morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard, 11 a.m. Eastern. We are live right here. And all you have to do is drop a comment below and you're automatically entered into the raffle, and you get entered up into 4 times if you comment on every stream that week. So that being said, let's jump back into the retention and avoiding chargebacks. So and maybe another piece of this. So actually there was a third one, right? You had 3. I think. I think
so the third one to me was doing what you say you're going to do. Like that's a big one. So like, we would sell policies on the back, and we still do, of like, we'll take care of you during AEP. We'll reach out to you during AEP. We'll let you know about changes during AEP. We do that. We do exactly what we say we're going to do. When I was doing my 24-hour return call guarantee, I did it. It helped me write a lot of policies. It helped me got a lot of new people in the books.
Yeah.
It made me lose my sanity too. It probably is why I lost my hair, but
yes.
but I did it.
Yes.
Anything you say you're going to do to the client, or for the client, do it. But also make sure that when you tell them you're going to do something, that it's something you can actually do. Because people remember that. You got to remember, like with Medicare clients in particular, health clients, everything like that, it's about keeping their business as long as possible, right? It's a subscription-based business.
Yep.
And so your retention rate is a really, really important thing. And so you don't want to break someone's trust by them not being able to trust you, right? So you have to do what you say you're going to do. And yeah, I mean, I think that one probably doesn't need as much dissecting, but it's really, really important. And not only will this help where your retention rates be really high, but I also think that, and one more thing I want to mention.
Yeah.
When someone does call in, there's a lot of agents that just tell them to call the carrier for things that the agent can do.
Right.
Like ordering an ID card, or, checking on a claim. There's a lot of agents I know that will not help their clients with claims. We do. Like we untangle
That's
claims,
a big one.
and they get really messy sometimes. They're not fun to deal with, but it's always been a core principle in our agency that we help fix those problems. We create an environment where we want the client to feel like they need us. And if your client needs you and they feel like they need you, they're going to think twice before they leave you.
I love it. I think Christian just gave you guys the playbook right there of how to really get to high retention rates. And the other piece of this too is like, yes, you can still be profitable. If you write enough business and you're losing 10 or 20%, yes, you can still be profitable. And there's agents historically that I've encountered that will even argue that they'd rather just keep writing new business and they don't care about the fall off. They just kind of anticipate it, whatever. But it's kind of a Benjamin Franklin, a penny saved is a penny earned situation. Every client you lose is another additional client you're going to have to write to replace that income. So why not try to figure out a method or a system where you can just retain these clients as much as you humanly possibly can? Chargebacks. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to mention something with that, because I think that's a super important thing, because I've heard that too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. That is a limiting belief.
Totally agree.
Totally agree. We write a lot of new business, ton of new business every year, and we keep 98% of our clients. We do both. And so the way that you do that is, as soon as, when you're starting off, let's say you're new. When you're starting off, you can't afford to hire help necessarily. You're doing it all yourself. It's not going to be such a big workload that it's going to keep you from writing new business, right? It's going to be a thing here, a thing there. Now, once you get your client numbers up, let's say you have 500, 800, 1,000 clients, you're going to start getting buried. What the mistake that people make is they don't keep growing. And when I say growing their infrastructure, right? They don't hire, they don't staff up. Like, if something's preventing you from doing business, the solution is to staff up and get more support for it.
Yep.
So like the people that are trying to make the choice one or the other, they're not doing that. They're working as a one-man show, and they're like, that's all I'm ever going to be. And
100%.
So I feel really strongly about that, because like the best agencies bring on a ton of new business, and they also have a super good retention rate as well. That's the key to a really healthy, clean business, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a logical fallacy. It's a limiting belief for sure. The people out there who think I have to pick one or the other, right? I don't think that's the case at all. And I think a lot of it can be systematized, automated, and delegated, right? So now the other kind of piece of this conversation, as we're getting towards the top of the hour, I want to make sure we touch on is avoiding chargebacks. And if you're a brand new agent and you're listening to this and you're like, what's a chargeback? Chargeback means the insurance carrier paid you a commission. That client fell off the books. They canceled their policy. the payment for their premium didn't go through, etc. So now the carrier is coming back to you, the writing agent, and saying, hey, you owe me this money because we paid you this commission. Maybe we paid you in advance. Now the client's gone. We want our commission back. A lot of times it's prorated based on the advance. So if the client's on the books for 3 months, they advance you 7 months, you have to pay back the 4 months, etc. On the life insurance side, it can be even more devastating. Bigger commissions, less retention historically with life insurance compared to Medicare. But what I've seen happen on the Medicare side specifically, but on the life side too, this is applicable on the life side too. And I know some call centers who've applied this as well, and it's worked really well, is having a system in place as soon as you're notified that there is a potential chargeback coming, trying to get a hold of that client as quickly as you possibly can to see what's going on, what happened, how can I fix this? And I'll tell you, as a final expense agent for many years, when I started, at first I was scared. And I know some of you are probably that same way, which is why I want to share this, is at first I was scared. I didn't want to contact the client because I figured like they changed their mind or they were mad at me, blah, blah, blah. But then over time, as I got more confident, I started to try to hit that client as quickly as I could. I'd call them right away. And there were so many times where someone was like, I changed bank accounts, or, I had no idea I missed that premium, whatever the case was. A lot of times it was a simple mistake, and I would have lost that client, had a chargeback, and not getting a hold of them right away would have cost me more money. So I think the avoiding the chargebacks piece can also play into your retention. I think it's very, very integrated, very closely related.
Yeah, I love that. And 100% agree. I mean, one tool that was so great for that was like, shout out to Mr. Evan McGuffey and MetaZeus, right? That was on the Medicare side.
Yeah.
They had an API that basically synced their system with Medicare CMS's systems, and you could see when someone was about to fall off the books before they did, and compliantly they were still your client, so you could still call them without a permission to contact and save them. You can still do that with a lot of carriers, but you have to individually check and see if they're pending termination and things like that. Yeah. Not a bad idea for like a VA to do that. You know what I mean? Like once a month or something like that, and create a list for you of who's pending termination. You can do that with 100%. A lot of the major carriers.
Yeah.
And, I think like Glenn said, anytime I've seen a situation where there was a chargeback that came or something like that, and we were able to get to them in time, not always, but a lot of the time, it was like they were changing to a worse plan, usually.
Right.
And they got confused, or, they're like, oh, this person came to my house and told me this about this plan. And it was like, well, that's not true about that plan at all. They're like, my doctor's in the network for this plan. I'm like, I just checked. They're not. So you're about to lose your doctor. Do you want that? No. Well, why don't we get you back on your other plan? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, like sometimes you have to have that conversation.
Right.
Sometimes it can be uncomfortable for sure, but like, and it's not that I think some people get the misconception that it's like you're forcing them or pushing them to stay with you. It's more so just being like, hey, I noticed your plan was canceling.
Yeah.
I wanted to just touch base and just make sure everything was all right. And, and, they ultimately have the choice. They have the decision that they can make, but oftentimes, they're glad to hear from you. And sometimes they're not even aware of it, like Glenn said. And it's a good practice. It's a very good practice to make. Another thing you guys should be doing to avoid chargebacks, and I'll kind of have this be my last point before we roll into final thoughts, but it's probably not a bad idea, no matter what you're selling, to call the client 3-4 weeks after you wrote the policy to make sure they got their ID cards, to make sure they got their policy in the mail, anything like that. Because at that point, if they're having any issues or they're confused or they have questions or anything like that, they might have lost your card by then. They might have forgotten who you were by then. So it's a reminder. You get your contact information with them. You address any concerns that they might have. That prevents a lot of chargebacks right there. That follow-up conversation, that follow-up phone call after
Yep.
the policy was sold. I think that's really good practice.
Yeah, I think on the life side, it was kind of a similar situation. Is usually after policy delivery, I tried to have some type of touch point. Either I'm sending a postcard in the mail, a thank you card in the mail. Maybe I'm calling to make sure after the first premium comes out. It's like setting the hook almost, in my opinion. Making sure that the sale that took place really took hold, and then after that, you should be in a much better position to retain that client. Another thing we didn't really get into, I know we're pretty much out of time here, but I'll mention is drip marketing, which I think is huge. And I guess we kind of talked about some different ways that we with the touch points. Right. Yeah. But again, like the having a system in place where, it could be happy holidays from ESI, a generic Christmas themed card that goes out that is just automated, goes to your entire book of business. You can have, we started this show joking about how there's too many federal holidays. You could essentially send an automated card out on every federal holiday, just saying, Hey, thanks for being our client. And if you have any questions or if you want to refer anyone to us, here's our contact info.
Yep.
Something like that is so basic, inexpensive, and can lead to a lot more sales and better retention. So that's kind of the last thing I'll say about retention and avoiding chargebacks before we get into final thoughts here.
Yeah. So guys, my final thoughts is I think retention is really important. It's not as sexy as client acquisition, but it's really important. I do believe client acquisition is more important, but I think like if client acquisition is 1A, client retention is 1B, right? They're close. Because without good retention, you just have a revolving door style business, and it's really hard to kind of move forward, right? You have 3 people that walk in, you have 2 people that walk out. You have 5 people that walk in, you have 3 or 4 that walk out. And so, yeah, I think should be prioritized. At first, might be difficult to do, but as you grow, I think making the investment into systematizing the whole process from, standard operating procedures to automation tactics to, teamwork and everything like that can make it to where it's much more doable. And I think if you're trying to do it all yourself and you have 700-800 clients, 1,000 clients, 1,500 clients, 2,000 clients, that's why it's not working for you. That's why you can't do the things we're talking about. So yeah, hope this was valuable for you guys and hope you enjoyed it. Glenn, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think, again, that mindset, I think, is really toxic of feeling like you have to choose one or the other. And historically, I've seen that happen many times with agents where they feel like they can't sell as much because they really need to focus on retention, or vice versa. They really just focus on acquiring new clients and they don't really care about retention. I think with the technology and the tools and the ability to hire people like virtual assistants who can come in and help you with retention, you'd be crazy to not put some serious thought and consideration and effort and energy and some of your own money as well. I think it's worth the investment to retain, because you can literally map it out if you want. You can map out what 1% retention means down to a dollar amount, right? You have 1,000 clients, 1% would be 10 clients. Well, 10 clients is, an annual, let's say every client's worth $1,000, right? So essentially 1%, 10 clients, that's $10,000. Every percent you lose is $10,000. You lose 10%, you lose $100,000. If you have a book of business of 1,000 clients, that's the sort of that's why this is so important, you guys. It's super important because there's so much at stake if you start to really lose a big chunk of your book over time.
Yep.
So those are my final thoughts, you guys. Really thought this was some super valuable information. Comment below if you're watching this on the replay. Hashtag team replay. Yes.
Guys, thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. If you're watching on a platform that allows you to do so, make sure to subscribe. YouTube is a great example of that. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening on there. We would certainly appreciate the love. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Here's to your success. And thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.